fans, welcome to the show.
What's good, Rumblers? Thank you for joining me. My name is Sonic, and I'm here to point out 20 plus advanced tips to improve your skills for when Rumbleverse launches on August 11th. Now, most of these tips focus on lesser known game mechanics and not on how to outsmart your opponents, but they all provide an advantage in some way, and I guarantee you'll learn something here that's going to help you win matches. The game lets you buff up your arms, your core, and your legs, so this video is here to buff up that galaxy brain of yours. So before we get started, I need to mention that these tips are true as of the July beta, and it's entirely possible that some of the things you see have changed in the full release of the game. You've been warned, so now let's get launched into it. Starting off simple with some traversal tips. Every game starts by launching you out of a cannon. Be sure to land on crates or targets to break them and gain abilities or weapons faster for early fights. It's far better to fight with at least one special move because it'll help you outpace your opponent in the damage department. When you jump onto anything that bounces you in the air, like cars, springs, burgers, trampolines, these speakers, whatever, you can gain height and distance by dodging right after you bounce. This is going to cut your traveling time down significantly, or bounce you high above your opponents for some devastating elbows. You can also use dodge to get more airtime after mantling in the same way, which can help you evade opponents' waiting attacks. Bouncing elbow drops are awesome and they do a ton of damage, but remember that you can only bounce twice while performing an attack.
Try and bounce 3 times.
If you try to bounce a third time, you'll get taken out of that animation and you'll lose that damage potential. Many people know that if you jump twice, your second jump is higher, but if you keep jumping, you'll keep doing that second higher jump animation until you stop. Oftentimes, that extra jump will reduce the climbing time you need to get up a building, or let you clear a roof entirely to avoid climbing at all. Climbing takes stamina and it makes a distinct noise, but jumping and mantling are free. If you fall from a tall building, you'll squish down like a pancake and lose a lot of your stamina. But if you land on a target, a crate, or another player, it doesn't matter how high you fall from, you're not going to lose any stamina, so you're ready for a fight. If you jump onto a chicken from height, it will get deleted. Admittedly, this might be a bug, but you could use it to deny resources from other players in a pinch. On the other hand, if you hit a target with enough power, the target will always generate a chicken for your efforts. If someone is standing in the bushes, leaves will fly away from where they're standing. It's a bit hard to spot at first, but if you keep your eye out, you can surprise them instead, or you can just avoid them completely. It's a little known fact that Capital City doesn't actually have any shrubbery, it only has ambushes. So save yourself from the same fate by paying attention to the leaves. Now we're going to get into combat tips, starting with a tip for the early game. If you land on a building with other people, Irish whip them or flip them off the building so that you can take their stuff. If they foolishly come back up to fight you, you'll be buffed up and they're going to have nothing. And these next 2 tips are super important if you want to increase your damage output in Rumbleverse. So many people miss out on opportunities for extra damage because they don't know how wall splat combos work. If you hit someone into a wall and they're flashing, that means that they are invulnerable until they hit the ground. You can't hit them, you can't grab them, you can't do a special move, but you could still elbow drop them if your timing is good. One thing to remember is that if you do hit them with the elbow drop, you're trading positioning advantage for a bit of extra damage, so consider what is most important at the time. On the other hand, if you hit someone into a wall and they are not flashing, do not miss on the opportunity for a free follow-up attack. The opponent cannot block or dodge a special move, a slap chop combo, or even your super move. Keep your reflexes sharp and you'll deal hundreds more damage to your opponent. Plus, it looks super cool and it's a lot of fun. So everybody loves a high elbow drop, but there is one problem with it.
Oh, everybody was blocking at the same time.
There is a way to solve this though. Every weapon has an air vicious attack, which means you have access to a high damage, unblockable move from the sky, even if they see it coming. Next up, all special moves can be activated in the air, and people don't expect that at all.
Spam your abilities.
Use it for long-range surprise attacks. Activate a special while you're falling. Catch people during their mantling animation or when they start climbing the side of a building, and you'll get great damage out of it. Extremely few people block in the air, and you can't block at all while you're climbing, so the opponent is totally vulnerable. The timing can be a bit trickier in the air, but it's worth learning.
Yeah, you won.
Congratulations!
Clashing is one of the fastest ways to build superstar meter. If your health is fairly high and you find someone who's willing to just keep clashing with you, use them to build up your meter. Eventually, they're either going to try something else and get slapped, or you're going to get superstar, and that opens up tons of options. Speaking of superstar, did you know that popping your super meter gives you temporary invulnerability? Now, normally when you activate superstar, you send a burst of energy out that knocks your opponents away. But if you hold down the activation buttons, that doesn't happen. Instead, attacks and grabs will pass right through you for a second, which often leaves your opponents open to an instant super grab. You can also use it to cancel the recovery animation on your special attacks to surprise opponents who think it's their turn to attack because they successfully blocked you. Be careful though, because a good player will do the same to you if they have meter.
We have a new champion!
Okay, so with these tips you've seen so far, you've opened up a can on your opponents in Capital City, but then they just turn and run away from your fight. Well, that's why you should always carry a weapon in your pockets. People who are climbing can't block, so you hit them and they'll fall right back into your awaiting arms. Now let's talk a little bit about defense. In the unlikely scenario where someone actually manages to knock you down, everyone knows you can press the attack button to wake up with a high priority power move. That's pretty predictable though, so it's often better to just try to create space between your opponent and reset the fight. If they're still close to you after you roll though, you can still do that power attack on wake up. So tuck and roll and then hit them. If they're not close when you get knocked down, stand up in place by holding the block button to instantly regenerate 30 stamina. Save yourself from stamina breaks or have an extra attack on the ready. In Rumbleverse, blocking isn't only useful for preventing damage either. When you hold block, you recover your stamina twice as fast, which you'll see when your shield glows gold. Use this to prevent yourself from being stamina broken in long fights, or potentially even to bait your opponents. If you successfully block a strike attack, you can actually let go of the block button. Now I know this feels scary to do, but as long as they keep you in a block string, your guard is going to stay up. You can even mash a special move or a chop, and it's only going to come out if they stop attacking or they delay their hit. If your strike-based special move gets blocked or you miss it completely, you're not necessarily doomed to being punished. You can dodge to cancel the recovery of it instead of standing in place and taking the hit. You can even cancel some moves on hit if you want. If you dodge away from your opponents though, they can still hit you with slap chops or some special moves, so dodging sideways or towards them is often the best move. They'll attack right past you. And finally, always remember to swim with a buddy. Whoever's doing the move will win the game if there's a double KO.
Tell me if he kills you both.
Oh, he still wins.
Now if you've made it to the end of this tips video, thank you so much, and congrats, you are now an advanced Rumbleverse player. You're ready to stand toe-to-toe with the best of them. If you like this video, please send it to your duos partner, and I will see you soon on the streets of Capital City.
9, 8.
Sweet justice.